Have you ever heard the Lord's Prayer in English? It starts, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." One day I might film a video about this prayer and what it means to me, because now I kind of understand it. But for the longest time I didn't. But for today, what I'd like to focus on is the word hallowed. Hallowed be thy name. Does that sound like any other word in English that you've come across? Halloween, for example? Yes, because hallowed means holy or something that is greatly revered and honored. The "een" in Halloween is an abbreviation of what used to be evening. So Hallow Evening or Halloween, which is celebrated all across the world on the 31st of October, is a holy evening before the 1st of November, which in English is called All Saints' Day, and the 2nd of November, which is called All Souls' Day. Now, these are very ancient traditions and celebrations, and what I'd like to focus on in this video is what Halloween looks like in the UK as well as in Mexico, where I live. What are some of the differences and similarities? Let's find out together. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tanya Meyer, and I'm an English as a foreign language teacher to adults, specializing in mindfulness practices to help bring calm, understanding, clarity, and joy to your English language acquisition and use in real life situations. Okay, so here's what we're going to look at in this video. A brief history of Halloween, that is, where does it come from and what does it mean? We'll also be looking at some vocabulary to talk about how Halloween was traditionally observed, as well as how it's celebrated today. What my experience of Halloween was during the time that I lived in the UK, also with some useful vocabulary. And in contrast, how Día de Muertos is celebrated here in Mexico, which is where I live, and is celebrated at the same time as Halloween. So, if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, Halloween has its origins in pagan festivals held around the world around the end of October. There was an even older Celtic festival held in Britain, Ireland, and northern France called Samhain, which marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the cold, dark winter. The festival symbolized the boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead. People believed that at this time of year, the spirits of dead people could come alive and walk among the living. They thought that dressing up in costumes would prevent them from being harmed by these spirits. Halloween used to be called All Hallows' Eve, or the day before All Saints' Day, which is on the 1st of November. On Halloween, the Celts would light up huge communal bonfires in order to ward off evil spirits. The celebrations were led by Celtic priests called Druids, and they ensured that the hearth of each household in the village was relit from the glowing embers of the sacred bonfire to help protect the people and keep them warm during the dark winter months. Today, Halloween is not seen as such a significant celebration in the UK. At least it's not how I remember. And it's much more subdued than, for example, in the US, where people carve pumpkins and have huge celebrations. In the UK, although there is some commercial promotion of Halloween and some people do dress up in costumes, it's more common for friends to gather around to watch horror films, or some people have costume parties and dress up in costumes just for fun. And some children do go trick-or-treating, which is a very big thing in the US. To trick or treat is to go around the houses in one's local neighborhood and ask for sweets, chocolates, and candy in return for not playing tricks on their neighbors. Do you know any other interesting facts about the origins of Halloween? Comment below and share your knowledge with us. I keep saying, caring is sharing, right? Now, here in Mexico, where I live, Día de Muertos is celebrated on 2nd November. That's All Souls Day in the UK. And we can say that Día de los Muertos on the 2nd of November has become a bit of an international phenomenon after one of the James Bond films with Daniel Craig was filmed here in Mexico at about that time. And since then it has become a bit of a mix between a carnival and a festival, at least in some areas of the city frequented by tourists, for example. Images of colorful skulls and skeletons dressed as very elegant ladies called Catrinas have become international symbols of Mexico's Day of the Dead. And you can see them spread around Mexico and have become international symbols of Mexico's Day of the Dead. The film Coco also added to the idea of a magical, mystical moment in the year where the living can interact and coexist with the departed. It's true that recently, colorful Day of the Dead parades have been organized to transit down Mexico City's main road from the Chapultepec Park towards the downtown square, the Zócalo, and that more and more people are taking the opportunity to dress up and paint a skull-like mask on their faces with stickers or beads and things like this. And it's also true that children of low-income families ask for money on the streets and call it their calaverita. Calaverita is a small skull, although what they present to the passerby is a plastic carved pumpkin, while the parents keep a watchful eye from a safe distance. But in this video, I'd also like to show you a more subdued and realistic side to this ancient, otherworldly celebration. Here are a few images of places I frequent nearby. This is the entrance to the Tlalpan Woods that I spoke about in my summer vlog video, which I'll leave a link to. And this is the entrance to the National University's Academic Club, where I met up with a friend for lunch last week. This is the local cemetery. This is the UK pronunciation, cemetery, or cemetery. That's the US pronunciation, on the 22nd of October. Another word for cemetery is graveyard, but the Americans use this word a lot more than the English. On this day, the 22nd of October, some people had already visited and left the typical marigolds called cempasúchil as grave offerings. But generally speaking, it is a quiet place, and on that day I saw no visitors. Fast forward a week, and this is what this same cemetery looked like over the weekend, with whole families visiting their departed relatives in an atmosphere of care and reverence. Water is supplied by the cemetery for people to plant marigolds and other flowers, sit in circles around the headstones of their family members, most of which are made of iron, while they busy themselves chatting, digging, planting, organizing, and also observing spells of reverential silence. On the Day of the Dead itself, this same cemetery is filled with people, color, food, and music. There are different mariachi bands playing in the wind, while families gather round singing their relatives' favorite songs and enjoying meals together. There's a sense of collective compassion and support. It can be really moving. And while for each of the families there are moments of silence, reverence, and reflection, quiet chatting, some crying, and exchanging of affectionate anecdotes, there is also room for laughter and humor. This is how some nearby neighbors decorated the front of their house last year, and this is what the same house looks like this year. Most individual families build or create an altar for their loved departed ones in their homes every year and decorate it with colorful paper cut into different shapes called papel picado, and add to the altar photographs of their departed loved ones, Day of the Dead bread, which is very traditional and always looks like this, although this year I saw Day of the Dead bread in different colors, so that might be a new thing this year, starting this year, but also candles, water, incense, drinks, and decorative skulls. On a personal note, I suppose it's quite strange that I don't live in the land of my ancestors. Having said that, I have attended spiritual retreats at about this time of year for the past few years to honor and contact my ancestors. And nowadays, I feel really close to them. To me, this is always a time of reflection and gratitude towards those who came before me. And I try and imagine their lives and circumstances. I make space for them in my heart and thank them for supporting me, as I know that they do. These are the kind of things you can learn about and appreciate so deeply during spiritual retreats, connecting with our ancestors, singing songs together around a bonfire in the evening, knowing that we are a continuation of those who came before us and that they are rooting for us, helping and encouraging us because they are there in every cell of our body. Suddenly, we're not alone. We have a whole community and lineage behind us, and we can take great comfort from that. Bringing this vertical dimension into our daily life is part of what I do with my English coaching program and community. So if you'd like to learn more, click on the link below in the description box, and remember to pick up a copy of my free guide, How to Revolutionize Your English, which you can also find a link for down below. And I'll see you in the next one, where we'll be talking about business. Do you need English for professional purposes? Well, I guess I'll see you next week then. Take care until then. Bye for now.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
¿Viene usted a ver la ofrenda?
No voy a misa.
Ah, disculpe.